Another asylum seeker boat with 48 people on board is now on its way to the already overcrowded Christmas Island Detention Centre. On Sunday night, police used tear gas and synthetic bullets to subdue 300 rioting detainees, and there have been more protests during the past 2 nights. The government says relative calm has now returned, but it's clear tension is rising in detention centres around Australia. Here's political editor Chris Uhlmann.
The riots on Christmas Island show a system buckling under the weight of detainees. When Labor moved to soften the Howard government regime in July 2008, there were 357 people in detention. There are now 6,591. In January last year, the average processing time was 100 days. It's now 165 days. The numbers mix into an explosive cocktail. In the past 6 months, there's also been a mass breakout from a centre in Darwin and a rooftop protest at Sydney's Villawood Detention Centre.
Well, the government has a rolling crisis in its detention network, not just on Christmas Island, but all around the network.
What is clear at the moment is that there are large numbers of people being held for long-term indefinite periods in a situation where they're very distressed.
The government insists its system is an improvement on the Howard years. In January, an Australian delegation told a United Nations forum that things had changed and emphasised that time in immigration detention centres is only to be used as a last resort and for the shortest practicable time.
The fact is that is untrue. The fact is that over 6,000 people, 6,000 asylum seekers around Australia are being incarcerated in often remote locations for, in many cases, prolonged periods.
On Sunday, the frustration of detainees on Christmas Island boiled over. 300 turned violent in a confrontation with guards and Australian Federal Police. Tear gas and so-called beanbag rounds fired from shotguns were used to control the crowd. Guards and immigration officials locked themselves in cells for protection, and a detainee's leg was broken.
I'll resist the temptation to say, "I told you so," to the federal government, but if you put large numbers of mainly single males and often young single males in an environment, that is a recipe for the sort of problems we're seeing on Christmas Island at the moment.
Have you lost control of the Christmas Island Detention Centre?
Well, clearly we have a difficult situation with ongoing tension, but it is being managed. I don't underplay the seriousness of this event or the difficulties of this event, because it is both serious and difficult and ongoing.
The Prime Minister says the use of force was reasonable.
I understand that police, confronted with situations of difficulty, do have to make judgment calls.
The government has tried to reduce pressure on Christmas Island. 500 people have been moved onshore since December. But behind the riots lies a broken system with no fix in sight. The government's election pledge was a regional processing centre built on East Timor.
Prime Minister, will there be an offshore processing centre on East Timor or anywhere else in the region in this term of government?
Well, we will continue to pursue the discussions and diplomatic work on a regional protection framework and regional processing centre.
The High Court compounded the government's woes last year by ending the system which put irregular boat arrivals out of reach of the courts. A new processing system kicked off on March the 1st, but there is a backlog of thousands of cases in the queue. Hundreds of new beds are being opened on the mainland, but the Western Australian Premier believes that might just export the problem.
If you're going to have people there for extended periods of time, essentially in a confinement situation, I am concerned about that.
There's now an inquiry into the Christmas Island riot, but some think its focus is too narrow.
What we need is an independent inquiry to look into the broader context of this recent situation and to look at why it is that processing is taking so long and why it is that people are being held in these sorts of conditions around Australia where they are incarcerated indefinitely and suffering such serious damage.
Political editor Chris Uhlmann.